Alright, I'm supposedly streaming. Hopefully this is working. I don't know, just gonna sing a little bit until I see the stream come up. And hopefully that happens. And oh gosh, there's my voice. There we are. Alright. Hello everybody. How is everyone doing this evening? Hope everyone is doing good. Taking a look at the chats. Hello, this glorious clockwork. How are you? Good to see you. Yes, and please reinstall your Discord. Or I guess you said you did. So we can actually chat again. Alright. Making sure everything's loaded up. Waiting for people to join in. Feel free to start chatting because I'm happy to answer anything that people in the chat want to talk about. Hey, Jeremy. How are you? How is your evening going? Hope everyone's good. So, I'm going to talk in just a minute. I want to start off today's chat. Hey, Pandora, how are you? I'm going to wait until a few people show up, more people show up, but I'm going to begin today's chat talking about the video that I did earlier, because I have a few things that I want to say just based on some reactions to that video, because I knew it was going to be contentious, so I figured I'll talk about it a little bit here. Hey, opinions no one cares about. How are you? Good evening to you as well. Jamie Earl, are you the... do you happen to be the Jamie Earl that I am related to? I don't know if that's if you're actual family or just happen coincidentally to have the same last name and name as someone I'm related to, without saying any specifics. But good to see you in the chat either way, Jamie Earl, regardless of if you're related to me or not. Hey, okay, it is you. Okay, how are you? It's been a while since we talked. We should actually talk in real life on the phone at some point in the near future. Continuum Trek, hey, how are you doing? Well, thank you very much. I'm looking nice because I had a certain job interview earlier today. I think it went well. Hopefully. Hey, Steve, how are you? Good to see you here. Let's see, who else? Christy, good to see you, Christy. Bob Mathis, how are you? Gwendolyn Loth, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I think I look really good. I blue and turtlenecks always does well for me, I think. Except for you can kind of see right here. You can see the sunburn, the clear line between look, I have a tan, and look, I'm the whitest human in the world. I think the interview went well. I still have to, they're having me, it's a video editing producer position. I won't say with the company, but it's a video editing producing position. They're having me edit something really quick and small. So it should be fun to quick do that. So it should be good. And good evening, Avery Carson Daniels. Have a mask tan line. Yeah, I was curious about that too one day when I went out in the sun. I had a mask on. I'm like, oh, am I just gonna get a Bane? Hello, I'm sunburned right down here. I might have accidentally scheduled because I originally scheduled this first. Maybe let me quick. I might actually have two back-to-back live streams scheduled on accident because this is the only one I'm going to do today. I originally had this scheduled for earlier, but had to move it forward a little bit just because I'm cooking dinner for the family tonight, and my stepmom decided to tell me that just a little bit ago. She's like, "Oh yeah, you're cooking dinner." I'm like, "Well, I didn't have any plans. Thanks for letting me know." So let me see if I can quick take down that video, the other live stream before, so people don't get confused. And then I'll start actually engaging with everybody and start off with something that I quick wanted to talk about. No, it looks like I don't have another live stream schedule. It looks like it changed it up for me. Might pop up. I'll delete it later. More Jesse Byrne. Hello. How is everybody doing tonight? Hello, Tom Moore. Continuum Trek again. Mutinix. Victor Kush. How is everybody? I don't know actually what I'm cooking. It's gonna be fun because it's one of those what is it, Blue Apron meals. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm going over there, and it's just gonna follow whatever the instructions are on the Blue Apron meal. So I don't even know what I'm cooking, and I hope it does good. Yes, I do feel in charge. The Bane voice is very powerful. It's a very powerful voice. Where were you when I made a video about Bane? What year was it? It must have been a while ago. Hey, some random. Yeah, well, thank you. I learned that thanks, Steve. I learned that my Bane voice is literally just Sean Connery with like a cup over my mouth. So if you go, "Hello, this is Bane. Hello, this is Sean Connery. How is everybody doing tonight? Yes, I'm James Bond." So I need to rewatch. It's been a while since I've seen The Dark Knight Rises. It's been a little bit. So this I seem to remember actually really enjoying that movie quite a bit. Except for the first time I saw it, I think I told this story before. Oh, and thank you, some random, for sharing that document. I'm actually going to grab that and make sure I put it in copy that link and save it. The first time I saw The Dark Knight Rises, I was in a movie theater I worked in the Adirondacks as a Boy Scout at a Boy Scout camp. Oh, and thank you very much, Mouse Pounder. I really appreciate that. It's going really good. But anyways, I was at this small theater, and halfway through the movie starts playing backwards and upside down. But it was right at the point where Bane took over the city, like took over Gotham in that movie. And so everyone in the audience was just really confused for a minute because we were like, oh, is this just part of the movie, like a weird stylistic choice? Because it just cuts from like Batman being thrown in the pit and then like Bane having taken over the city because the reel... it was a film camera, so the reel had been put on backwards. So it was just really funny. Just like halfway through the movie, it was like, so yeah, that was a great. I mean, the first time I saw The Dark Knight was in that same theater a few years earlier, and we had a big thunderstorm, and the power went out, and so we all, because it was a huge thunderstorm, so halfway through the movie we like went out and like we just sat and like hung out and watched like this huge thunder, as Adirondack's known for. It would have been really It was, yeah, so every time I go to that theater, something weird happens. I also saw WALL-E there, and literally the film burned in the last 5 minutes. As, like, the ship was landing on Earth at the end of WALL-E, the literal film started burning. So that theater's just always interesting. There's always something fun with that theater. I was fine with it because they gave us a free movie ticket, and I saw 95% of the movie. So I just missed the last 5% and still got a free movie out of it, so. Cowboys versus Aliens. We thought that was part of the movie. Oh gosh, Cowboys versus Aliens. That's a good one. And Jamie, I forgot to say earlier, thank you for the super chat. And again, call me. I'm staying with Dad right now in New Mexico, so like call us and I'd be happy to talk because it's been a little while since we actually chatted in real life. Well, so now that a bunch of people have shown up, I just want to quick address something really briefly before I start engaging and having some fun. Just talking about a video that I did earlier, that came out earlier today, talking about diversity in Star Trek, the Pike spinoff. And I just want to briefly mention it just because I just want to briefly chat about it because I know my videos are sponsored by TrekSphere, which the Star Trek videos I do, at least some of them are. And so TrekSphere shares out the videos. And apparently on that video, I was alerted by Triangulum Audio Studios, who's a wonderful Star Trek YouTuber if you don't know who he is. Just let me know that there was a lot of toxic stuff going on that video. Which, you know, I kind of expected. I kind of anticipated that was going to be a thing that was going to happen when I released the video. And I saw some people also, and so those are all bad faith comments. But I did see some good faith comments and discussion within the actual comments in my video. And one of the things I should say that I'm really proud of, by the way, is that all the comments on the video itself, I have not had to do much policing there. I mean, I'm going to be watching because I'm sure there'll be some people that come in and start saying silly and annoying stuff. But I want to say I'm very happy with everybody being so kind and thoughtful in the comments of that video. And even on a subject like this, because I don't think there's, as long as you're arguing in good faith, I don't think that there's any bad answers to it. And the only thing I just wanted to say, mainly, which was the main comment that I saw coming up was like, it's a bit too early to talk about this because we don't know the rest of the cast. And I certainly agree. I do think that we still have a lot of information to learn about the show. And as I said in the video, I trust Secret Hideout and the current heads behind Star Trek right now to stay true to their commitment to having a diverse cast and things like that. But I do want to slightly disagree a little bit in the sense that I do think it's important to have the conversation, and I do think it's important to start talking about it a little bit right here and right now, because the people behind the show they say they watch Star Trek stuff. They watch fans, and, they probably don't watch me, but, I can at least do my part with whatever small platform I have to at least start the conversation. And as I said in the video, I have no answers. I do not offer up saying, like, how dare they? I'm not angry at anybody. I'm not mad. I'm just saying this is worth discussion and worth talking about. And it's something I hope the creators of Star Trek keep in mind, and we as Star Trek fans who, as people who want to talk about diversity and trying to push humanity forward and understanding infinite diversity and infinite combinations, we just have to have the conversation, and we have to talk about it. And I think, like I said, I'm not here to get angry at anybody. I'm not here to stir up controversy or get angry at anybody, and I'm not trying to do clickbaity type stuff. I'm just trying to instigate conversation. And if that's what my videos do, then that's what I hope they do. Speaking of which, Greg Gillum, I saw your comments on my Patreon, Greg, and actually that's part of why I'm commenting here. So thank you very much, Greg, for your comments over on Patreon about my latest video. So it's good to see you in here. So I appreciated your thoughts. So, and don't worry, Continuum Track. I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you here, especially when you're drunk. I've been drunk more than enough on my stream. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to me rant about my video today. If you want more of my thoughts, I'm not going to reiterate much of what I said because I think I said most of what I want to say in the video itself. So if you want to hear more of what I want to say, please feel free to go over there. I'm reading all the comments on the video. Number one, to make sure there's no toxic stuff going on in there. And then also, like I said in the video, I'm honestly very curious to hear. I'm very curious to hear what all of you have to say about it. All right, that's everything that I wanted to say about that. Let me actually engage with the chat. Feel free to let me know what you all want to talk about. Please post away, and I'm happy to listen. And also I should say, if I put a heart on your comment in any video, but especially the one talking about diversity, that means I've read it. It doesn't mean I can't always respond to it, but I definitely have read it. If you get a heart on your comment, that means I've read your comment, even if I didn't have the time or opportunity to respond to it. And I try to respond as best I can, but sometimes I don't have the energy or time to do so. All right, Frederica27, hello from, I'm going to probably mispronounce this, so apologies. Wuppertal, Germany, just left you a long comment on diversity in Pike series. Well, thank you very much. Robert, Jesse, I'm not a fan of token characters. Just give me writers that understand a Star Trek show doesn't belong to the writers. It belongs to Star Trek fans since 1966 and beyond. Well, there's a lot of stuff to break down in there. I do think that to a degree, there's an element of like, yes, Star Trek does belong to the fans. I mean, people even writing the show are fans as well. But I also think that, we also have to be aware that Star Trek is a show that's owned by a corporation. And as much as I disagree with sometimes what that corporation does, just because, corporation's gonna corporate, so we also have to be aware, like, they're gonna make decisions that we're not always gonna like, and we're not always gonna agree with. And I think our job, as fans, is to say when we appreciate something and we don't appreciate something, and try and do it in a way that's constructive and in good faith, and trying to talk about things in a positive manner. I think that's really the important thing. It's like, you can be critical of something. I've definitely been critical of Star Trek Picard and Discovery, but I think it's always with an eye to try to be constructive. And as for token characters, I mean, we could even talk about the fact that, like, way back in, really in any Star Trek series, I don't even know why I'm going all the way back, but in the original series, being honest, Sulu and Uhura were token characters. They kind of were. As much as we talk about their importance, and they were important, they were characters who were put there because, like, there's like, here's our token woman of color, here's our Asian character. And again, that's not wrong. I at least in the context of when that show came out, but I think that there was many missed opportunities with those characters, some of which played out later on, like especially with Sulu's character, I think got a lot more to do, especially in Star Trek 6, but sometimes didn't pan out, especially like Uhura in pretty much anything. I don't think Uhura is a character that has unfortunately never gotten her due, except for maybe in Star Trek 2009. As much as you can complain about her relationship to Spock, I do think in that movie she was a fairly proactive and smart character. Less so in Into Darkness, but certainly in 2009, I think I liked Uhura's character quite a bit and how they wrote her for the most part. Let's see. And tokenism of straight white male characters can be a thing too. That is true. I mean, as I say in the video, any identity, I mean, we talk a lot about straight white men because there's a lot of problems with being straight. The problem with straight white men in fiction is that they're almost always the main characters. They're almost always the ones that get to control the narrative and have agency in a narrative. But, and as I say in the video, straight white men are part of the diversity of humanity too. I will never say straight white men shouldn't be in things. They shouldn't be the only ones to be in things. They shouldn't be the only ones to lead things. They shouldn't be the only ones to be the only people that get to be presented and have agency in stories. And all the other characters of other ethnicities, backgrounds, sexualities, genders, they get relegated either to the side, or other characters, they don't get to be the main character of the story. And so, straight white men, you are wonderful and beautiful and absolutely amazing, but you're not the only ones. And sadly, as a culture, and this is not on any one specific person, as a culture, we have centered straight white male stories for a long time. And honestly, outside of like the politics of it, I just think it's more exciting to see different like people in stories. Like getting to see a character like Burnham on Star Trek Discovery is much more interesting to me because I haven't seen a character like her be front and center before. And it just makes for new ways to tell stories. And so I just find that interesting. If we take the politics out of it, which is also very important, but even if we take it out, just seeing diverse characters makes for diverse stories. And don't we want to hear new and wonderful stories? I think that's just fun. So, hey Dash, it's nice to see you. By the way, I know I missed a few people coming in. It's good to see all of you. Dash, good to see you. Matt, good to see you. Vian, good to see you. Professor Frank. Some random. You had a good question earlier that I caught. You mentioned you like ContraPoints in one of your streams. Are you aware of the toxicity of ContraPoints to harm members of the trans community? Yes. This is a whole conversation to talk about. This is a whole other video to talk about in a different thing. I am aware of the criticisms of ContraPoints, especially I think specifically as it relates to members of the non-binary community, which by the way I am part of. I do identify as non-binary, though I do have some elements of privilege in being. I can generally pass as a like fully binary trans woman, so I will say I probably have a bit more privilege than some passing privilege and also economic privilege and things like that. And I would love to see your videos right some random. Actually, I'll check them out. Please send them to hear your criticism. So I am aware of the criticisms, and I don't necessarily think they're wrong. I think some of my concern with that whole situation was just how the whole conversation just got toxic. And people on the sidelines got, Philosophy Tube, by the way, got, like, doxxed and insulted and were told that they needed to disown her, which I have a very big problem with, going to ask someone to disown them that they care about. You can have them be critical of her and say, hey, can you speak about this? And then it's up to you to determine if their response to her video was good or not. But to ask them to disown her, I think that's emotionally abusive. That's me. But I just think that the whole situation got toxic. Do I think the criticisms of her, like putting Buck Angel in her video, do I think the criticisms of her not exactly talking about non-binary people in the best of light and best of ways has been the best? I certainly agree with all those criticisms. I just necessarily think it got a little bit out of control and a bit toxic and a bit harmful in that whole situation. Actually, if you want to hear more of my thoughts, I did an article on Pride.com. Pride.com, I did an article talking about that whole situation. So if you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts on that situation, check out my Pride.com article. And some random, I want to check out some of your videos on it, what she had to say. All right, let's jump off of that. Let's see. Good. Richard, nice to see you, Richard. Thank you for joining. New watcher of your channel. Great combination of fun and informative. I'm also very pleased that you are very upfront with your trans identity. It's been enlightening and enjoyable. Well, thank you very much, Richard. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the whole point of this channel is to talk about myself and my identity, and then how it can be related to Star Trek and also be related to everybody else. So I definitely think that the goal of this channel is to try to talk about who I am as a human and try and relate to other people as humans as well. So I really, that's That's sort of the goal here. All right. Essence of Thought video on the whole contraband things are excellent. I did watch, I think, the first one of Essence of Thought's videos, and I did think it was well done. I think Essence of Thought's videos are generally well done, though I haven't watched many videos in the recent past. Oh, well, thank you. I love the shirt. Is it navy blue? It is like a navy blue. Blue is my favorite color, which I think probably should be obvious, given, like, it's pretty much all I wear. Right, my aesthetic is blue. It's just blue. So, yes, thank you very much. I love this turtleneck. I look good in turtlenecks, which I'm surprised by. Maybe it's because I hate my neck. Ugh, that's a dysphoria I'm not even aware of. Maybe that is why. Let's see. Yeah, and Huro and TOS didn't get her due. Nichelle Nichols also said MLK Jr. said her presence had value, which kept her engaged with her. Yeah, like I said, I definitely think that, Uhura's place on the original series was incredibly important. And, by the way, I can't necessarily speak to how important, because I'm not a person of color, nor was I alive at the time. I can kind of look back historically and see what members of the community have said and kind of what the influence of Star Trek is. So it's not fully for me to say, but I do know that for a lot of people, Uhura's presence on the bridge, I think Whoopi Goldberg, being one of them, saw her as really important. So I'm not going to say that, like, having just visual diversity and quote-unquote tokenism can't work and can't be important. I'm just saying that there are many other ways, and that if that's the only way that people of color get to have a representation, then that's a problem. I'm not saying it can't be beneficial, just that some other things can be beneficial as well. I will say some random, and I may be wrong on this, but I believe Philosophy Tube's joke about the controversy came actually before he was aware of it, and it was just ill-timed. At least that's his story, and I generally tend to believe him on it, that he made the joke before he knew that the controversy was happening. Now, you can criticize that for he should have been aware. That's a fair criticism, but I do think that that's... I do think that was innocent, but again, I can't know 100% for sure. But that's just my take on it, so... If I ever do a fan trek, I give you a blue uniform. Yes. I love the blue uniforms. I mean, to be fair, would I be in science division? I don't know if I'd be in... I probably would be in the science division if I was in Star Trek. Definitely wouldn't be medical, that's for sure. I'm terrible with the body. But I think I'd probably be in sciences, maybe command. But I don't know. I'd probably end up being like Tilly. Being like, I want to be in command, but then having like no confidence whatsoever in myself. So, not that Tilly's... Yeah, Tilly does have confidence issues, though, so... Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And hey, Solstice, it's good to see you. Good to see you in the chat. Hey, Seal. I didn't see you earlier come in. Seal is wonderful. Did I watch the... Avery asks, did you watch She-Ra? If so, what did you think of the last season? I really... Let's see. What am I blanking on it? She-Ra. I really liked the last season of She-Ra. I just caught it, finished it up a few days ago. And I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful ending. I actually really agreed with Council of Geeks. Did a really good review on it. And what I really loved about this finale, and this is some mild spoilers, so I'm only going to talk for a minute or two about the finale spoilers, so just plug your ears for a hot second. So... let me just plug your ears if you don't want to hear any season spoilers. I'll literally, some random, I'm sorry, I'll literally for just 1 second. And I'll try and be as quick and vague as possible. I really like the way they redeemed a certain character on that show. I think they did a very, very good job with redeeming that character, and I thought it was a very perfect ending. All right, no more spoilers, but the She-Ra finale, excellent. Loved it. Absolutely wonderful. So I think if you're a big She-Ra fan, I think they go out really, 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 really well. Seal, I just finished listening to Inside Star Trek this morning. I'm sure they mentioned something about there being a black male actor in the original pilot. This is when he got cut. Yeah, that is disappointing. I have Inside Star Trek. I listened to it when I was a kid, but I haven't listened to it in a long time. Probably should. But it would be nice to see a black man on the show as well. It would have been... There's a lot of Star Trek is rife with so many missed opportunities. So many. As much as I love it, rife with a lot of problems. Yeah, I'll be curious to hear what you think, Solstice, about She-Ra season, the finale. I think it ends really beautifully. That show is so fantastic. It's an almost perfect show. I don't think you can get much better than She-Ra, to be honest. It's so wonderful. Cool. Just making sure. Oh my gosh, as Bob, you say Eric's and Maress. Oh my gosh, Maress. I mean Eric's. Eric's. I forget how you say his name. I love him. I want Maress so badly. If they don't give us Maress, that'll be what I'll make my next video on. I will destroy the Star Trek Strange New Worlds if they don't have Maress on the show. I'll be so angry. That's the diversity that I need in the show. I need Maress. But actually, very, in all truthfulness, I actually really liked the character of Maress. I think actually, if you read, there's like DC Comics had a run on Star Trek where they did like Star Trek between like I think seasons or Star Trek movies 5 and 6. So like during the movie era, and Maress was on the ship, and she started dating Sulu and had a thing for Sulu, which I would love. I would love that so much. Sulu's getting all the love. Maress was the cat. I adored Maress so much. She's his character. I have a thing for cat. Not a thing. That implies something different. I like cat people characters. I don't know why. I like I as much as I didn't love the joke going on forever on Red Dwarf, Cat, the character of Cat. I did like the character of Cat. I just think the joke of him being a cat got overused, but I do like cat characters. Star Trek does have furries. Don't get me wrong. Star Trek 100% does have furries. And that's not a judgment, by the way. I have nothing against furries whatsoever. It's like, if you enjoy being a furry and you're doing it with consenting adults, power to you. I'm not going to judge anybody for that. So, it's like we're all just weird and freaky. Everyone's got their weird, freaky thing. So I by no means judge furries at all. Brent Spiner's Twitter video. Do other musical nerds agree with me that he should play with the wizard as and when Universal gets to their asses moving for the Wicked movie? Yes, he would be amazing. Brent Spiner would. His video is musical. If you haven't seen it, over on Twitter, Brent Spiner did like a musical video in quarantine. It's fantastic. He did. It definitely made me laugh out loud. So I definitely think that was a hilarious video if you haven't checked it out. Also, something else that I learned, I was over on Council of Geeks stream the other day, and someone mentioned that they did a lockdown video of Good Omens with Aziraphale and oh gosh, what am I blanking on his name? Azazel, is it? I forget. The two main characters of Good Omens, David Tennant and Michael Sheen, I believe is his name. Blanking on characters and people's names all over the place. But they did a Good Omens like short video as Azazel. Thank you, Dash. I appreciate that. That they did a quick like lockdown video with them where it was just like a very funny little like 4-minute like audio thing that they did that was very funny. Plus anything with David Tennant, Crowley and Aziraphale. Thank you very much. That's it. That's what it was. Anything with David Tennant in it, I'm instantly in for, because David Tennant is a beautiful human being. I remember I did a semester in London, and there was a girl who was one of our professors when I did the semester in London. There's a girl who came into our class, and she had acted in a movie with David Tennant, and she was there for some other reason, and then we like got to ask her questions, but the entire class did not give a single crap about what she was actually there for. We only asked her about how David Tennant was, which I'm like, I know I'm in the right class. I'm in the right class when I know the whole class is just going to talk about how beautiful David Tennant is. So that's hilarious. Let's see. Speaking of lockdown videos, Kurt Smith of Tears for Fears and his daughter sing Mad World. I don't know. I actually don't know who that is. Apologies. Sorry. Hopefully no one's getting angry. I actually don't know who that is, but I'm sure it was absolutely lovely. I am a furry for enjoying the series Beastars. I need to watch Beastars. Everyone says I need to watch Beastars, and I really should. I haven't had any time lately because I've been trying to get up to date on some stuff. But I probably have time now, finally, to actually do that. I've caught up on a bunch of my writing for videos that I'm doing in the future. I've had like the next like 5 or 6 videos shot, but are not shot, written. You still need to shoot them. Is that shout, shout, let it all out? Is that what you're saying, Professor Frank? Is that the song that I'm hearing? Star Trek Continues fan. I have not seen every episode of Star Trek Continues. I also know that there's some problematic stuff with some of the creators. I don't know the specifics of it, so I'm not going to speak on it. But I do know there's some behind-the-scenes stuff with Star Trek Continues that was a bit iffy. But again, I don't have enough information to speak on it. But I have of the episodes of Star Trek Continues that I have seen, I have liked them so far. I saw the Mirror Universe one that they did, which I thought was brilliant. I thought that was a really good follow-up to that episode of the Mirror Universe. And then I saw the one they did with Apollo. I thought that was really well done. The production quality is great. The stories are really solid. Feels just like a Star Trek show. So I like Star Trek Continues quite a bit. And I probably will get around to watching all of them. As long as I try to avoid talking about learning the behind the scenes stuff. And speaking of which, to promote kind of myself and someone else, someone else who did a wonderful interview. I actually did, she's in the chat as well, Christy. I did a interview with Christy Abbey over on her YouTube channel yesterday, where we talked about problematic creators and the issue of problematic creators and what we wanted to talk about there. Mainly, we were jumping off of. I did a review the other day about. Why am I blanking on it? I did the video myself, and now I can't think of Altered Carbon. Jeez, my brain is not working tonight. About Altered Carbon and how the creator behind that had some problematic stuff to say about trans people, and then of course the big one, J.K. Rowling, being sort of the big one, and sort of where our lines are on problematic creators and things like that, and where we want to talk about problematic creators. Careful not to confuse Star Trek Continues and Alex Peters of Star Trek Axanar. That is true. I do know the story, or at least part of the story, about Alex Peters of Axanar. So I do know the specifics of that. I might be wrong then. I thought I heard there was also some stuff that happened behind the scenes of Continues, but I might be wrong. So, like I said, I might be wrong on that, so don't take my word on it. I'm not going to have a definitive statement on it. All I will say is, from what I've seen in Star Trek Continues, it is very good. And I'll just say, anything I said previously about the behind the scenes stuff of Continues, I don't know. There might have been some stuff. I'm not 100% sure on that. So if you're curious about it, do your own research, and maybe I'm gonna do my own research at some point too. So, Steve says Vic. I can't say his last name, and I don't want to screw it up. But Steve probably looks like Steve has some more information that knows about it. So, welcome back, This Glorious Clockwork, and also I saw Pedro that you came in as well. Welcome. But yeah, is Axanar any good? Yes, the video that they did with Axanar was very, very, very well done. They had some really good behind the scene, or really good visuals and actors. But there has been, this one I do know for sure. There was a whole slew of controversy behind that whole thing. There was battles with CBS. Alex Peters did some not so great stuff. Alec Peters, I should say. So that's a whole thing. I don't want to really I'm not gonna go into it all on my live stream, because that's a whole thing that I don't necessarily want to jump into, because I don't have all the exact facts on it. I just know the general overview, so I don't want to say anything untoward or incorrect on a live stream. If I do anything about that, I do a video on it where I could do the research. Evelyn, do you still play the tabletop Star Trek RPG? I do. Over on Lore Reloaded's channel, I do a regular Star Trek RPG with Lore Runner and Ketwalski, who are two really, really wonderful people. So yeah, that one's I do the Star Trek RPG. We just restarted this week. We did a one season, and then we're gonna do a season. We just started a season 2. So if you are interested in hearing me play a very promiscuous Andorian woman this season, then you can listen to that over there. And I think we're gonna do an audio feed as well, a podcast feed on it as well. So I haven't set it up yet, but there should be a podcast feed in the near future. So if you can't watch it on video, you should be able to get it on podcasts as well. Animorphs or Goosebumps? Ooh, that's difficult. Also, I'll answer that question second, but I also saw Pedro. You said I wanted to make sure I just popped in my mind. You said Steve Shives and Jesse Gender are my favorite YouTubers. Well, thank you very much, Pedro. I really appreciate that. Steve is one of my favorite YouTubers as well. Speaking of which, his Trek Actually video today was wonderful. I know I said this to you, Steve, earlier today, but I really I thought your Trek Actually video today was really wonderful. Anyways, Animorphs or Animorphs or Goosebumps? That's a hard question. I was really into Animorphs as a kid. Like, super into Animorphs. I owned pretty much every book and read all of them. I even watched the TV show. I think I still have the VHS tape of the Animorphs TV show as a kid. And so I really loved it. But it's been so long. And it was like the first book series that I like got all the ancillary materials. Like, it was Star Trek, whereas like I researched everything, but like Animorphs was the book series. So I was like, I'm gonna read everything, find everything, know all about this world. But it's been a little bit since I read it. But I just remember thinking the world and the idea of it was cool. The Zerg, right? The Zerg is StarCraft. The parasitic slugs that like control people's brains. Why am I blanking on their name? I think it started with a Z, but I can't remember what their names were. Maybe it was Zerg or something, Zorgs, something like that. But anyways, loved Animorphs. But Goosebumps, I think. Yerks, thank you very much. I might have to go with Goosebumps, just because horror. I adore horror. I like things that scare me a little bit. And I actually, weirdly enough, have better memories of not necessarily the Goosebumps books, but the number one, the Goosebumps TV show. That one scared the crap out of me. The Goosebumps TV show always terrified me. And also, they had audiobooks, which I found available on YouTube here, which made me so happy. They did audio drama versions of the Goosebumps books, and they're terrifying. They're like traumatizingly terrifying. Shocker on Shock Street, they did a Shocker on Shock Street audio drama, and that freaking terrifies me every single time. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. Did I miss your super chat? I will go back and check it. My apologies, Sarah. I will check it. I'll look at it after I finish this thought real quick. So sorry if I missed your super chat. What was I saying? I lost my thought. Goosebumps, yes. The audio dramas are really great. So if I have to say between Animorphs and Goosebumps, Animorphs books I remember better, and I think I would choose the books of Animorphs better over Goosebumps. But as like a franchise and like some specific memories, I'd probably have to go with Goosebumps over Animorphs. Ugh, I wish there was an Animorphs reboot. They should do an Animorphs movie. I would love that. Even if it was terrible. If they did an Animorphs movie in the style of like the like really terrible Power Rangers movie they did a few years ago, I would be so down for it. I think it'd be hilarious. Pedro, so have you watched Event Horizon yet? I need to hear your opinions on that. Not yet. I do a movie night with some friends on Friday night, and I tried to get them to watch it, but they chose not to. What did we end up watching Friday night? I forgot we ended up watching Take Shelter, which is a movie starring Michael Shannon, which was solid. I didn't love it. I thought its ending kind of ruined it, but it's a very solid movie. I just think it's a little bit overly long, and the last like 5 minutes of the movie ruined the entire message of the movie. So take what you want from that. So yeah, I haven't seen Event Horizon yet, but I will watch it. Sarah, let me look back and find your super chat real quick. KBM, is that kill, marry, kill, date, marry, kill, or like F, marry, kill? I'm assuming that's what that is. Q, Data, and Cisco. Okay. So I think, is KBM, is that fuck, marry, kill? I believe that's what it is. Q, Data, and Cisco. Ooh, this is hard. See, Kill, bang, marry. Good. I appreciate that. That's actually better because then I don't have to say the F word on here. Kill, bang, marry. Ooh, that's so hard. That's actually really, it's a lot harder now that I think about it because my instant thought was I would bang Q because he would be the most fun. But then I'm also thinking that Data's fully functional. He says he's fully functional. And I feel like, given that he's an android, he could do some fun things. I mean, I'm sure he can vibrate, if you know what I mean. So, oh gosh, that's so hard. But then Q could also vibrate. Q could do anything. Q could do literally anything. Ooh, but then I feel like he'd be egotistical though, in bed. I feel it would always be about what Q wants. I feel like if I had to bang somebody, it would be Data. But that's so hard. But I wouldn't marry Data because Data would be a bit distant, and a bit like kind of emotionally distant, and I don't think I could really get to know, like, be in a really healthy relationship with him. But I think I would bang Data, marry Cisco, because I feel like Cisco's a devoted father, a devoted spouse, really loves people. The only thing to knock against Cisco is that he abandons Cassidy at the end of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So that's kind of a jerk move to his spouse. But I think overall Cisco's a really great dad, and father, and a marriage material. So yeah, Cisco's definitely marry. Data is bang, and then I unfortunately kill Q. But as Dash said, if I killed Q, you can't kill him, so he'd just come back anyways. But I think that would be my answer. Also, Council, I see you just joined in. Nice to see you here. Welcome. Let's see. Is Anson Mount with the gray beard 10 out of 10 or 11 out of 10? Oh my gosh. Anson Mount's beard in the announcement video, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, amazing beard. That one may actually take the cake. It may beat Ethan Peck's beard for me, personally. Can't beat Riker's beard. Even though Riker's beard isn't the one that like gets me going, it's one of the most important beards in all of Star Trek. But I will say, Anson Mount's beard, 1,000%, and I hope he gets to wear it in the series. He won't, but he's quarantining bearding very hard. I love it. That was really, really great. Pedro, you retracted that. Okay, I saw Pedro, you posted something, but I have to do that. I'd marry Barclay. Well, maybe Barclay when it comes to Voyager time. Barclay and TNG had a lot of things he needed to work out before he could, before I think he'd be marriage material. Timothy Osmond's beard. Why am I blanking on what Timothy Osmond's beard? Sorry, I'm looking it up really quick. I just gotta see what Timothy... Now I'm on a beard. Whoo! Yeah! Timothy Osmond. Oh, wow. You got a beard going. Odmundson. Sorry, not Timothy Osmond. I don't know what I'm saying. It's not Odmundson. You got a beard going. Yeah, that's an impressive beard, actually. Do you like the 2017 Power Rangers movie? No, I did not. There were only two things about that movie that I actually did really like. The 2017 Power Rangers movie, there's two moments. One, I loved everything about Rita Repulsa. She knew the kind of movie that I wanted, and so I was there for everything that Rita Repulsa did in the Power Rangers movie. So the movie that she was in was the movie that I wanted to have. Let me just put it that way. And then the second moment I liked that movie, and it killed me in the theaters, there's the moment where they all get the Zords, and they start charging at Rita Repulsa to attack her. And the Go-Go Power Rangers music starts playing. Go-Go Power Rangers. And I just cracked up and died. I'm like, this is what I wanted. This is what I want for that movie. Yeah, but the rest of that Power Rangers movie was everything that's kind of wrong with a lot of blockbusters today. Was just like dark and gritty and like dull. It was just dull. I'm not against dark and gritty. I think it could totally be dark and gritty. Just don't be boring. It's why I, weirdly enough, as much as I think it's everything, I've said this a million times before, I think it's a bad movie, but I'm still fascinated by Batman v Superman because it's dark and gritty and it's not boring. That's for sure. And I'm very excited to see the Snyder Cut, by the way, that announcement today. Oh, I'm so pumped for that. I have a bunch of friends who are like so pumped for that. I was texting them today. I am so going to get drunk and just sit down with a bunch of my friends, either in person or quarantine, depending on where we're at in that, and just watch that Snyder Cut drunk. It's going to be so amazing. I am so pumped for that. Yeah, I'm always for, like, just don't be boring. That's my main thing. If something's boring, that's the worst thing for me. I would rather a terrible, wrong-headed, completely terrible movie that makes every single wrong decision in an interesting way than a movie that's just there, that's just sort of like, yeah, that was a movie that existed. All right, I'm glad that happened, I guess. So, want to piss off Steve Shives? Tell him Man of Steel is better than Superman Returns. Whew, you're gonna start some stuff. If you're still on the chat, I think some random geeks trying to start some stuff here. So. I'm of the weird mind. This is going to be the controversial opinion of the night. I actually really, really like... It's not my favorite. I'll be very clear. I probably would say Superman Returns is probably my favorite if I think about it. I haven't really ranked them, but I think I did. But I actually really like Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Just saying. I think... badly... This is going to the bad but interesting. Superman 4: The Quest for Peace is a bad movie, but has some of the most interesting ideas of the entire 4 movies with him. I know, Council, don't hate me. No, it's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. I know everyone's freaking out in the chat. It is a bad movie, but it does actually have the most interesting concepts when it comes to Superman. The idea of Superman just deciding to use his power to actually create, like, to interfere with governments and grabbing all the nuclear weapons and trying to do those sort of things. I thought that was actually a really interesting idea and could have been done so. In fact, they do kind of do it. If you read my favorite comic book series ever in DC Comics is Injustice. And Injustice, really, if you think about it, besides the part that Superman goes way evil in Injustice, the same basic idea as Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, is the same kind of starting concept as Injustice. And that's my favorite comic book story of all time. Or one of my favorite comic book stories of all time. So, I will say Superman 4 is a bad movie, terribly executed, the best concept of the entire Superman franchise, actually. I think it's probably the best concept for all of it. It's just, but yeah, execution is terrible. But like I said, I am always down for interesting movies over boring movies. That's just, I always like, I will watch an interesting movie over a boring movie any day. When will Trek shift into transhumanism by the year 2260s? I think it will start to become cyborgs. Yeah, no, I mean, that's an interesting concept. I mean, we kind of touched upon it with Arium in Star Trek Discovery. Transhumanism is a fascinating idea. What was I did it, yeah, that's who it was. I did a chat with, I was on Secular Sexuality with 2 wonderful hosts over there. If you haven't, Secular Sexuality, the hosts of that show are absolutely wonderful, V and Christy. And we were having a conversation over on that show about transhumanism in Star Trek. And it touched upon an interesting thing that I started thinking about, because transhumanism is always about... and by the way, I should say, you gave a super chat to ask that question, Factual Opinion. I should thank you very much for the super chat. About how transhumanism touches upon trans issues. Because, like, for example, I mean, I've gotten breast augmentation surgery. You can't see it in the video, but boobs. And I've also had gender confirmation surgery. Well, breast augmentation is a gender confirmation surgery. I had the downstairs surgery to keep it PC for everybody. So, in a way, that is transhumanism, using technology and the information that we have to manipulate our bodies to make ourselves more comfortable with our bodies. Is it like becoming a cyborg? No. But yeah, it is. I mean, that's the thing that I found interesting about. I think it is one of the kind of the sad. I mean, it has to. Now that I think about it, like Geordi was a bit transhumanist, like a transhumanism themes as well. I think probably the best discussion on transhumanism ideas, and it was a bit vilified in that show, unfortunately. Battlestar Galactica and Caprica, I think more directly, was dealing with transhumanism. Sadly, transhumanism was much more vilified in those shows, and transhumanism generally is vilified. But I don't necessarily think that transhumanism is a bad thing. I think there's a lot of questions to be asked about what makes us human, and I think that's what science fiction is here for. But I definitely have nothing against. I think that is actually a really good avenue for. I think that is a really good avenue for Star Trek to discuss. 7 of 9 too, yeah. 7 of 9 too is actually transhumanist in a way, but though that was against her will, to be fair. She didn't exactly choose to have all those implants in her body, so that's part of the negative. The Borg could be seen as that. Death is a disease, not an inevitability. Yes, Glorious Clockwork. We talked about that in person too. That's a whole philosophical concept to break down, but I generally am not against you on that. I have a deep fear of death. Deep fear of death. Ooh, you're writing a novel on transhumanism, Pedro. I wish you well. That's something I want to do. I want to start writing more fiction. I had a dream I've been wanting to do an audio drama for a very long time that I hopefully will do at some point, but I had a dream the other night that finally was made me connect on how I wanted to do this audio drama that I've had in my head, so I'm very excited for that. Oh, thank you very much, Professor Frank. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Since you like Red Dwarf, have you seen the 70s Brit series Space 1999? We should bring back some retro kitsch camp back to sci-fi. I have not seen Space 1999, unfortunately. I think the campiest stuff that I used to watch the original Battlestar Galactica. Oh yeah, don't worry, Council. If I do the audio drama, you and a bunch of other people that I know will definitely be getting calls to do some voice actors. Don't you worry. But yeah, Battlestar Galactica, I think was one of the original Battlestar Galactica is so freaking campy. I think of other campy shows that I watched. I never watched Space 1999. I do think we need more campy sci-fi shows. Actually, it's already basically gotten canceled, unfortunately, sadly. But if you are looking for a fun campy show, there is a show called oh heavens, now I'm blanking on it. Oh gosh, why am I blanking on the show? I need to look it up because I really want to promote it really badly. Sci-fi series, sorry. Vagrant Queen, that's what it is. There's a show on Sci-Fi Channel called Vagrant Queen. It is created and written by a trans woman. It's based on a comic book by a trans woman, one of my favorite. I've actually met her. I'm blanking. Why am I blanking on everyone's names today? This is frustrating me. Magdalene I'm gonna mispronounce her name. Magdalene Visaggio. She writes a bunch of comic books. I absolutely love her. I got to interview her once. She was a wonderful human being. And there is she did the series Vagrant Queen over on Sci-Fi Channel, which is very campy, very out there. It feels like the way they pitch it is Star Wars meets the Coen brothers. But it has its own fair share of camp in there as well. It's already, sadly, I don't think it's officially gotten canceled, but I think it's already kind of got shunted to the side. Excuse me. Kind of gotten shunted to the side of the Sci-Fi schedule, so I would presume it's probably going to be canceled. Maybe not. But it was but I would very much recommend that show if you're looking for a good camp sci-fi show. I'm actually annoyed because the narrative podcast content I've had on the back burner has become too topical to the point of being more depressing than it's supposed to be. Yeah, that tends to happen. I mean, I have 3. I want to try and write more fiction, but right now I have 3 fiction ideas, 2 audio drama podcasts that I really want to do. And then the third one that I want to do is a short film that I actually have written. It's very Black Mirror, Twilight Zone-esque. And they all touch upon transgender themes. The short film I want to do at some point, I was hoping to do it a couple years ago. Fortunately, there was just a whole thing with my writing partner on it that became a kerfuffle. But I now am able to do it if I want to. But I got to find time, money, and not be in quarantine, and all of those things are frustrating. But audio dramas, I have 2 audio drama ideas that I really want to do. One of them, Steve, you'd be appreciative of this. The one audio drama that I really want to do is actually in the style of the old Superman radio series, look up in the sky, it's Superman. So I wanted to do it in the style of that. And then the other one is a much more straightforward, sci-fi, a horror sci-fi story, that I want to do. So. Yeah, I love the radio show too. Mine would probably be a bit more deconstructing the Superman radio show, but that would be basically what it. The basic structure of it would be. I mean, I'll just pitch it here because who cares? The basic pitch of that show, and I have ideas for how it would go, would be what if a Superman type character came out as transgender? That's the basic concept of that story, and like dealing with all the politics and craziness of what that would ensue. So I think that'll be a fun concept that I want to do, in the style of the old Superman radio show. So I shouldn't be talking too much about it because everyone's talking about wanting to be voice talent. I'm happy to get voice talent. I need to write it first. So give me some time to actually do that. So, but I want to try and dive into fiction. I've been feeling kind of stressed out. Not stressed out is the wrong word. Antsy. Now that I've had all this time. I have all this time right now, and I'm like, I could be writing the fiction that I want to write. So hopefully maybe I'll start doing that at some point in the near future. So. Jesse, do you watch astronomy-related channels? I do watch astronomy-related channels, and speaking of which, I'll promote someone else here too. A friend of mine, This Glorious Clockwork, who's in the chat, I don't think he started it yet, but he's doing a bunch of science-related videos. I know he wants to do a bunch of astronomy-related videos in the future. He just needs to get on his butt to get those edits out because he's taking forever on them. No, he's putting in a lot of hard work, but... This Glorious Clockwork, one of my best friends in real life that I've met in person. We used to, well, I'll keep things, I won't say specifics about how I know him, but he's a wonderful human being, and he has a channel, so you go check that out, and he does some great astronomy stuff. Outside of that, I've been actually watching a lot of, like, I'm doing a video on, that's coming out in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, that's about Ex Machina and Devs by one of my favorite directors, Alex Garland. I'm doing a video on Devs and Ex Machina, and so a lot of my time lately has been like trying to understand quantum physics, which has been stressful because I'm not a physicist. So that should be fun. So hopefully you guys will all love that, because I tend to find that, sadly, unfortunately, if I do things that aren't directly Star Trek related on this channel, they don't do as well. So I'm hoping to try and find the one particular niche that does really well on the channel. So I'm hoping that one does, because I'm very excited, because Alex Garland is one of my favorite directors of all time. I have seen Annihilation. I've seen everything by Alex Garland, including the things he's written. He wrote Dread 28 Days Later? He wrote Days or Weeks Later. I think he wrote Days. But yeah, Alex Garland. I haven't read his books yet. Annihilation, though, I think is fan-freaking-tastic. I touch upon Annihilation. I touch upon Annihilation in the video a little bit, just to touch upon how some of the themes in Ex Machina and Devs. But yeah. So, yeah, Steve, everyone does love the Star Trek shit. I was commiserating with someone how it's just sometimes funny how you spend all this time on these videos sometimes as a YouTuber. It's like, you'll spend days obsessing over your video, working really hard on it, doing all this crazy stuff. And then that video will come out and do nothing. And then you'll like do a video where you just sit and rant at the camera for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is. And that video does gangbusters, and that's just the algorithm. So you gotta make the stuff that you want to make. I'm lucky enough that you guys seem to like the stuff that I make, or at least most of the stuff that I like to make. But and you know, I'm trying to be smart about it. But trying to be smart about how I leverage the content. But generally, I'm just here to make the stuff that I like making, and hopefully all of you will enjoy it. Yeah, that's the fun of being painted in a niche. Though, luckily, thankfully, I do like talking about Star Trek, so I'll rant about Star Trek all day. Speaking of which, Designer Core, need your insight. I recently got into Discovery, and I'm really enjoying it maybe more than Picard. Why all the hate around Discovery? Whew! Well, we kind of touched upon that at the top of the video. I mean, Discovery... There's a lot of stuff to dive into with that. I mean, there's the bad faith stuff around Discovery that people are like ranting about. Oh, look, there's forced diversity in Discovery and things like that. And the writing, these aren't sci-fi writers and things like that. But in terms of good faith criticism of Discovery, and this is stuff that I think is totally legitimate criticism of Discovery, and if it affects your love of it, that's fine. But some people don't like the serialized nature of Discovery. Some people find that there's like a couple problems with like space magic or like convenient story plot threads, or they just don't like the or there's generally just they don't like the specific flavor of it. You know, like they don't like this. They don't like what Discovery is compared to Old Trek, and you know, as long as you dislike it for perfectly legitimate reasons, like actually like good critique, that's totally fine. The joy of Star Trek and the joy of there being over 50 years of shows to watch Star Trek with is that there are many different flavors, and you don't have to like all of them. Some people just don't like Discovery. Some people don't like Picard for perfectly legitimate reasons, and that's 100% okay. Like that, I've always said that it's 100% fine. If you don't like those shows for whatever your reason is, that's fine. There are certain other ones that are bad faith, that are like ranting about, like I said, diversity and they're making men weak and things like that are silly and dumb. I'll just say it. It's just silly and dumb and does well in clickbaity ways to get people videos. So, but yeah. I personally, to be honest with everybody, I think I've said this before, but I like Discovery more than I like Picard. That's just my particular flavor. I really like what Discovery's doing. I've connected with the characters on Discovery a lot more personally. Especially like Tilly and Saru and their version of Spock and Pike, and I just connected with Discovery quite a lot more than I did Picard. That doesn't mean I don't like Picard. I like Picard quite a bit, but I definitely think for me particularly Discovery hits me a little bit more than Picard does at this point. But they both have many more seasons hopefully to go, so we'll see how it goes. Tilly is the best. I adore Tilly. She is absolutely wonderful, and Mary Wiseman is an absolutely wonderful human being. That's also, to be honest, too, not that Picard doesn't have this, because I'm sure the people in Picard are also wonderful, but part of the reason I really love Discovery, and I was talking with Christy about this in our interview, that the people behind Discovery, the actors and the creators, all seem like really wonderful people. I met the lead actress of Star Trek Discovery, who plays Michael Burnham, blanking on names again because my brain apparently just does not like names today. Sonequa Martin Green. I met Sonequa Martin Green very briefly at a convention, and even though I only got to talk to her for all like 30 seconds a minute, she was very sweet. She was very kind. She was very thoughtful. I asked her a question about trans representation in Star Trek Discovery, and she had a very like thoughtful response. And so she just seems like an absolutely wonderful human being. And she also talked about how she and the cast actually talk about the, like on set for Star Trek Discovery, they actually talk when they have time as a cast about the issues in each episode and how they can learn and think about the issues in the episode so that when they go out to conventions and talk to fans, they are able to actually accurately talk about the issues within the show. And I think that that's really beautiful. That like the actors on Discovery, and again, I'm sure Picard has this as well, but that the actors on Discovery are aware of what the show means to people, that it does have a social consciousness to it, that it's not just a TV show to a lot of people, and actually take the time to like actually sit and think about that and try to carry that forward as people. And I think that that's really beautiful and something to aspire to. And so just knowing that makes me really love Discovery. I think that just, I adore that quite heavily. Let's see. Tilly's brilliant. And actually, I want to do a video. I'm planning on doing a video on autism representation in Star Trek that'll focus on Tilly, Tilly, Barclay, and Spock, specifically. And I'll touch upon a couple other characters here, but those would be the main three. Above and beyond, hi Jesse, hope you're safe. Thank you so much. I hope you're safe as well. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. I'm sure the cast of Picard had very serious talks about the oncoming interdimensional killer robot menace. Yeah. I really hope that gets picked up, by the way, in the next season of Star Trek Picard. They set up that there are giant tentacle alien monster robot things that want to kill us all, that just are out there somewhere. So hope that gets picked up somewhere down the line. It'll be like Mass Effect, and actually discuss that. A lot of people dislike The Next Generation when it first aired, especially the first 2 seasons. The difference is back then people did not have the type of platform to express it. That is very, very true. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, the first 2 seasons of Next Generation are rough. Really, really rough. I will still argue it. I think Picard and Discovery, they may not be the best Trek has ever done, but I will pretty much go to bat for the argument that Discovery and Picard have had the best first seasons of any Star Trek show. Not the best seasons of any Star Trek show, period, but the best first seasons of any Star Trek show. I will generally go to bat for that. Maybe the original series, you could argue, had a stronger first season. So, thank you so much for joining, Bob. I really appreciate that. Have a wonderful evening. Speaking of which, I'm going to have to go make dinner in about 10 more minutes. I can talk for about 10 more minutes, and I probably got to go make dinner. So, 10 more minutes, and I'll talk. Wellington. Yes. By the way, I didn't say hi to you earlier, Wellington. I've been seeing you in the chat a bunch. Nice to see you there. She-Ra 2018, the best cartoon ever, the best cartoon ever. I actually talked about that earlier in the stream, so I won't say too much about it because I already spoke about my thoughts about the final season. I don't want to spoil for anybody else. I'll generally say, to plug someone who's in the chat, Council of Geeks did an absolutely great review of the final season of She-Ra that I pretty much agree with every point on, so go watch that video if you want to hear basically what I agree with on my thoughts of the final season. In that, the final season of She-Ra is freaking fantastic. Adore She-Ra's final season. Dragon Prince, yes. Oh, I really like Dragon Prince. I don't think Dragon Prince is as good because there's a couple missed opportunities in Dragon Prince that kind of frustrate me a little bit. Like, for example, in the second season, I'm gonna blank on character names, but there's the one guy who he loses the ability to walk, and then a few episodes later, his sister automatically heals him, and there doesn't seem to be any repercussions for that in the episode or in the season or even in the next season. And it was just kind of disappointing because I thought it would have been a really beautiful... It was either one of two things. You either have a chance to do a really good discussion on people with disabilities, especially people who have lost the ability to walk, and like learning to come to terms with that, but also still finding that their life has value. It might be different, but that their life still has value. So I was sad that they kind of missed that opportunity to do that. And then the second thing, like I said, his sister healed him, but it seemed like it was going to be like this big thing, like, oh, she's going to use all this energy to heal him. And then it's just like, oh yeah, no, she was fine. So I was kind of disappointed with Dragon Prince, but generally, I know I'm being kind of negative for it. Generally, I think Dragon Prince is a very, very, very good show. I really, really like Dragon Prince. So, and thank you, Some Random, for sharing. I keep saying Some Random. You're Some Random Geek. Thank you, Some Random Geek, for sharing Console Geeks video review. It's really, really good. Oh, Rick, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat and for the generosity. Thanks for giving me a break from the COVID-19 marathon I've been watching for 2 months. You and me both. Been trying to avoid it, but it's been a whole thing. I won't dive into it because I'll try and stay away from that topic at the moment. But we're all there. So I'm glad that the channel's able to give you a distraction here and there. So thank you so much. Joe asked, what do you think about the Clone Wars final episode since your last video about that arc was done before the last episode? I really liked the last episode of Clone Wars. Speaking of which, that's another video. Thank you for talking about that video, by the way. That's another video that I put a lot of work into and just died when it came out. I did a video on the final Star Wars, Clone Wars arc, and I loved it. That last episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars was so good. The final shot, without spoiling, the final scene of that episode, it hits you hard. And I thought it was just a brilliant way to end that show. So I really thought the final episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars was really good. I think the episode before it, the third to last episode, or second to last episode, was my favorite of that arc. But I think the last one was really, really great. In fact, the final 4 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars, if you haven't seen Star Wars The Clone Wars, at the very least, watch the last 4 episodes of that show. You can pretty much watch them out of context. There'll be some stuff that confuses you, but generally you can watch those final 4 episodes of context. The whole show's worth watching. But the 4 episodes is basically its own movie, and oh my gosh, it might be my favorite Star Wars thing since The Empire Strikes Back. Not that that's necessarily a high bar, but I definitely think that the final 4 episodes of the Clone Wars are probably the best Star Wars thing to come out since Empire Strikes Back. They are so good. And like I said, you can pretty much watch them without having watched anything else. But they're well worth it. Renee, unrated, any word on season 3 of Discovery? What do you think it'll be about? I've talked about this a bunch before, but briefly, looks like there is an update on Star Trek Discovery season 3. They're going to the Jeff Rousseau. The biggest holdup, it sounded like, was Jeff Rousseau couldn't get the orchestra together to record music for the season, and that was the big thing because they already finished production, and clearly they can do some semblance of post production during quarantine. But the biggest thing is they couldn't get an orchestra together. But it looks like Jeff Rousseau has finally figured out how to record people individually and sort of splice it all together to make it sound like an orchestra is all together at once. So it looks like that's moving forward. I don't know when it'll come out. My assumption would probably be some point in the next maybe 3-4 months, maybe. We'll see though. It's hard to tell with everything the way it is. Excuse me. But as for its topic, it's clear. I think what I'm very excited for is I think they're going to talk a lot about gender in it. They've made hints about they're going to talk about gender. Go back to Trill, the Trill homeworld, which is my favorite alien species in all of Star Trek, and also feature a non-binary character, which I'm also so excited about. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about. They said they're adding a non-binary character to Star Trek Discovery season 3, so I am so here for that. I'm hopefully they'll handle this character really well, but we'll have to wait and see. I will definitely be critical of them if they get it wrong, but I'm very excited. I trust them very much to have a non-binary character in the show. Oh, and thank you, some random, for sharing my Watchmen video. I loved that Watchmen video. That's another one that didn't do well. I should just use my live stream just to promote all the videos that didn't do well that I really am proud of. Half-Life, the Half-Life video. If I may pimp one more video for all of you to watch, my Half-Life video is probably the video I'm most proud of. I really loved my Half-Life video. I actually will, well, not that I disagree. I didn't hate She-Ra's non-binary representation, and I've actually met in person the actor who played the I forget the Double Trouble's character in She-Ra. They're a wonderful human being as well. But I didn't really love. I love Double Trouble. I just kind of didn't like. There was like two kind of tropes with Double Trouble going on in that character. One, they're a villain, so it's kind of like, oh, they're a tricky character. And then the second thing too with Double Trouble is like, oh, they like to trick people. They like to put on different identities. They're not a singular person. It's like non-binary people can be a singular identity. Fluidity can be part of non-binary. I identify as non-binary and fluid. But I disliked that the non-binary character was like defined by that characteristic in She-Ra. That Double Trouble was defined by like being fluid and having a changing identity, and that was like the defining characteristic. And it just like it's the same thing of like Star Trek sometimes does with allegories of like the person's identity and the sort of conversation around that character's identity becomes their defining trait instead of them just being like happen to be non-binary and something else. So that was my main problem with She-Ra. It's not that Double Trouble, and again, this is where I get into like I'm being critical of it. I don't hate Double Trouble. I think Double Trouble's a great and fun character, but that was just something that I'm like, oh, that is a bit tropey. So I'm not going to be like, this is my favorite non-binary character, my favorite depiction. But I do enjoy the character. I just have some hesitations here and there. Oh, well, thank you, Above and Beyond. Thank you so much. I'm glad that things are okay. But also make sure, like, I do appreciate your generosity, but I also want to make sure that if things are okay, make sure you're taking care of yourself first. I appreciate the generosity. Thank you so much for the super chats. I always do, but I also want to make sure that you're all taking care of yourself first. So thank you so much for that, Above and Beyond. So, all right, I have time for maybe one more question. So let me quick look, and I will see, and I'll answer one more question before I head out, and I gotta cook dinner for my family. Or else they'll be angry at me, and maybe they'll eat me, because my family is 2 steps away from being cannibals. Let's see. How about this? The next question that I see in the chat will be the last question that I answer. So, if you have a question for me, get it in, because I'll answer it. Sorry to play this game, the teasing game, but I just want to get one more question in. If no one answers, then I'll just say something random. Nobody? Nobody? Oh, I'm hurt. I'm hurt. All right. Oh, okay. Well, Robert, you get your question. And I'll see two. So, Odo. Yes, Odo clearly had sex. He must have had sex with Kira at some point. So I would presume that that he had sex. And then just because oh gosh, that's a whole other question I want to answer. Favorite Doctor Who companion? Oh boy. Without giving too much into it, ooh. You know what? I'll save that for the next live stream because I actually have to think about that. I have to think about that really hard, about my favorite Doctor Who companion. All right. That's it for everybody. I love you all. I think you are absolutely wonderful and amazing, and I think you are beautiful, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for supporting me, and thank you for hanging out with me. Yeah, you are all fantastic. Sending you love and all the fun things. I will bid you all adieu for tonight, and I'll talk to you later.